Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you. My goodness, the holidays are upon us. This is the last day of Hanukkah. Christmas is only just less than 2 weeks away. We're going to be not meeting for the next couple of Fridays, so our next meeting will be January 5th. But before we get to January 5th and before we depart today, Ellen's going to give us the invocation.
Good afternoon. As I reflected on the season and on the title of today's topic, my thoughts kept going to the patron saint of my employer, the University of St. Francis. St. Francis of Assisi has been top of mind this season as 2023 marks the 800th anniversary of when Francis of Assisi recreated the first nativity scene. Francis of Assisi was a man of wealth in his younger years, a man of indulgence and of many possessions. As his faith grew, his love of Jesus overtook all of the material world. His father, a wealthy merchant, took away all of Francis's money and was ready to publicly reject him. Imagine a public scene in the main plaza in the town of Assisi, where a crowd gathered to observe this public humiliation. But Francis was ready. He so detested the material world that he gave up everything, and I mean everything. St. Bonaventure, between the years of 1260 and 1263, writes in his life of St. Francis, and I quote, "Then this father, according unto the flesh, was fain to take the Son of Grace, now stripped of his wealth, before the bishop of the city, that into his hands he might resign his claim to his father's inheritance and render up all that had been his. That this true lover of poverty shewed himself right ready to do so, and coming into the bishop's presence, he brooked no delays, he was kept back of none, tarried for no speech, nor spake himself, but at once did off all of his garments and restored them unto his father. Then was the man of God seen to have a hair shirt next to his skin under his rich apparel. Yea, more, as one drunk with wondrous fervor of spirit, he threw aside even his breeches, and stood up naked in the presence of all, saying unto his father, Hitherto I have called thee my father on earth, but henceforth I am confidently saying, Our Father which art in heaven, with whom I have laid up on my whole treasure, and on whom I have set my whole trust and hope." A popular rich man that rejected all material things in front of the whole town, Francis now had nothing, but at the same time, through faith and courage, had everything. This man, now known as St. Francis of Assisi, a man who strongly impacted the world. As we reflect on today's talk today, let us remember what is truly important. It may not be a lot of stuff. Thank you.
Today's paper. Why do we have so much stuff, Jane? Jane Wuthrich is the speaker for today. Jane identifies her strengths to be creative, her strengths to be creative thinking, organization, and problem solving. She was the proprietor of Custom Book Designer, where she published 200 books of photos and memories. She was the project coordinator of Everybody Reads, which was funded by the Lilly Endowment to raise literacy skills of Allen County children, involving children from birth to third grade, school-age literacy projects, literacy training for classroom teachers, and raising community awareness that included the free distribution of over 200,000 books. She was also an independent marketing management consultant and the executive director of an organization I'm sure all of us know quite well, SuperShot, where she coordinated project growth from being a committee to a sustained nonprofit with 24 monthly clinics serving 10,000 children a year. Jane worked with Fort Wayne Community Schools Community Programs Division, assisting with Study Connection, something that I had a connection with for a few years, initiating school business partnerships, and designing and management of the Neighborhood Connection Continuing Education Program. She was an American Red Cross Programs Director and the co-founder, owner, and manager of retail computer stores. Jane holds an associate degree from Indiana Purdue University, has volunteered at the church that I serve, Trinity English, the Literacy Alliance, Visiting Nurse Service, Hospice, plus many, many other organizations. She has received a number of awards, including the George H.W. Bush Points of Light Award. She says her favorite job among all these jobs, and I haven't mentioned nearly, a smidgen of what I've mentioned a smidgen of what she has done, but her favorite job, and Jason, we're glad that you're here, her favorite job is to be the mother of 3 sons. 3 sons, 6 grandchildren, 1 grandson. She loves traveling, and she lives by a credo that is dear to my heart: blessed to be a blessing. Jane?
Good morning, my friends, and happy holidays. Today, amid the greatest gift-giving month of the year, I present a Quest paper on why do we have so much stuff? Americans live in abundance on today's interconnected planet, with more possessions than any society in history. Average households contain 300,000 items, yet we spend $1.2 trillion annually on non-essential goods. 1 in 4 U.S. homes have so much stuff they can't fit a car in the garage. We have 3.1% of the world's children, but 40% of the world's toys. Malcolm Forbes is attributed with saying, "He who dies with the most toys wins." Most of us have an accumulation of personal stuff, ranging from possessions to mementos, video recorders, photos and videos, old magazines marking events of national importance that we saved. And we've saved lots of computerized stuff. It has become an ever-growing concern, leaving us wondering, how did I get all this stuff, and why do I keep it? The Christian apostle St. Paul said in 1 Timothy, "For we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we can carry nothing out." But stuff is popular. I Googled stuff, hoping to find a few topical articles, and in 0.33 seconds, I found reference for 2,390,000,000 items. I note that Amazon, YouTube, and Facebook are the top 3 searches. I wondered if there could be a connection. What is stuff? The word stuff has over 40 meanings and is used to describe objects, substances, drugs, sex acts, worthless matter, medicines, nautical concoctions to lubricate sailing vessels, money, and unspecified things. Stuff is the most common noun in speaking, but rarely used in writing. However, it can be found in the 14th century writings of poet Geoffrey Chaucer, who is often credited with inventing English as we know it today. So, how do we make that jump from stuff and it being a part of our human existence? Our earliest ancestors carried their total belongings in hide bags, even as America settled Conestoga wagons full of important stuff were necessarily abandoned at the gateway to the Rockies as pioneers moved west. This was the stuff that they thought they could never do without, but alas, they didn't really need it. Stuff is also the things that one owns unavoidably or regretfully acquired by happenstance, such as holiday gifts or inheritances. You appreciate the thoughtfulness, but now they gather dust in the attic. Stuff can be an accumulation of items sentimentally purchased while on vacation, or because it might gain in value, or we fear we're going to need it next week, or we panic that we won't remember it, or because It deserves a good home. How did we end up with this mountain of stuff? What is its impact on our lives, our self-worth, and the whole world today and tomorrow? Our relationship with stuff starts early in life. Stuff is bountiful. Handbags, books, clothes, tools, toys, Christmas decor. Letters, appliances, furniture, iPads, Easter decor, baseball cards, tickets, Thanksgiving dishes, old to-do lists, and phones. More than mere possessions, stuff can become extensions of ourselves, used to signal others who we want to be and where we want to belong. After we're gone, our stuff becomes our legacy. The idea that we can possess something as if part of ourselves is one that children grasp by age 2. By age 6, they exhibit the endowment effect, placing extra value on an object simply by virtue of it being theirs. A favorite shirt, a special toy. With ownership comes envy, as young ones discover other toys they would like to get their hands on. It's as if children believe that their special object has a unique essence, a form of magical thinking. That specialness reappears throughout adulthood in our treatment of heirlooms, jewelry, celebrity memorabilia, artwork, automobiles, and various collections. Materialism peaks in adolescence just when self-esteem tends to be at its lowest, and possessions act as a crutch for the self. Through the teen years, possessions increasingly reflect how young people would like to see themselves. In novelist Alison Laurie's book, The Language of Clothes, she observes, when adolescent girls exchange clothing, they share not only a friendship, but identities. They become soulmates. In interviews with teens, Ruthie Sergev of the Jerusalem College of Technology found that selecting and buying gifts for friends helps adolescents achieve an identity independent from their parents. Mutual exchange of the same or similar gifts between friends helps create a feeling of overlapping identities. This is one of our first experiences with influencing people, and it makes a strong imprint. In the translation from adolescence to adulthood, it's the first car that often becomes the ultimate symbol of emerging identity. Interviews with car owners found that young drivers particularly like to mark their territory by personalizing their cars with unusual plates or seat covers, stickers. And research also found that the more often young men saw their cars as an extension of themselves, the more trouble they took to wash, wax, and care for them. As lives unfold, possessions can embody our sense of selfhood and become external representatives for our memories, relationships, and travels. PhD communications scholar Karen Lawler wrote in 2010, quote, "A house is not merely a possession or structure of unfeeling walls. It is an extension of our physical body and our sense of self, reflecting who you were, are now, and want to be. Our possessions allow us to signal our importance to other people." In our lifetimes, Americans have embraced that concept mightily. However, stuff can stealthily overshadow greater life goals, such as substance, relationships, virtues, and serving others. Let's take a quick look at American life over the past 113 years. In 1910, the U.S. population was just over 92 million people, and life expectancy was 48 years of age. With no monthly Social Security check arriving, households were multi-general with incomes of $750, about $24,000 in today's value. Families parceled out their money in 4 primary categories: food, housing, apparel, and health care. There was little left for luxuries. Consequently, passing down personal belongings and household goods became a method of contributing to intergenerational wealth. In the first 50 years of the 20th century, America experienced 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and an enormous diversification of employment opportunities as laissez-faire capitalism chugged to its zenith. It was a period of uncertainty, fear, and a very changing society. A horse-drawn carriage was replaced with a car. A train moving at 50 miles an hour transported goods quickly across the country. Refrigeration preserved food for longer periods of time. In the 1940s, standardized plumbing codes paved the way for safe indoor plumbing, and Bendix electrified home washing machines. By 1950, American soldiers had returned to a country contrasting the one they left a few years earlier. Wartime production had pulled the American economy out of depression, and there was a remarkable rise in spending power. Jobs were plentiful, wages were higher, and because of a lack of consumer goods during the war, 158 million Americans were eager to spend. The average household income was $3,300, about $42,000 in today's power. Young couples were marrying and having children at unprecedented rates. Expanded federal programs, including the GI Bill of Rights, allowed many young families to purchase their own homes, often located in rapidly expanding suburbs with flexible floor plans, garages, sidewalks, and indoor-outdoor living. The economy's share of farmers had fallen to 10%. That would be from 40% to 10%, due to the mechanization of the farm led by the mighty tractor. Ironically, at the same time, food was cheaper, allowing more dollars for luxuries like televisions, which entered our homes, and transistor radios, which we would carry with us on the go. These inventions introduced us, or I could say seduced us, to broadcast advertising and its power to influence our spending. And spend we did. Consumer spending became the panacea for 50 years of uncertainty and a means of keeping up with the neighbors. The good purchaser was devoted to more, newer, and better, and was also a good citizen for contributing to economic recovery. Disposable income grew. Nearly half of working men were craftsmen or machine operators. Factory wages had grown by 7-fold. The U.S. was the making stuff capital of the world, and its dominance felt indefinite. Half a century later, factories, like farms before them, would become the victims of American efficiency. In 2023, work and attitudes in America are changing once again. The American population today is 3 times its size in 1910. And it's aged incredibly, almost 1,000%. 1 in 5 residents collect Social Security benefits. Seniors aged 65 and over account for nearly 17% of our citizens, and 8 of them live in their own homes. Food production is more efficient, and we've offshored clothing production to other countries with cheaper labor. Compared to 1957, today we own twice as many cars per person, eat out twice as often, and enjoy endless other commodities that weren't around 2 decades ago. Big screen TVs, microwave ovens, oven drawers, SUVs, and handheld wireless devices, just to name a few. But are we any happier? If you're not paying, you are the product. The past 20 years have ushered in another new phenomenon, social media targeting. In the 1980s, the average person saw between 500 and 1,600 ads per day on billboards, newspapers, magazines, and television. In 2021, we began to see an estimated, are you ready, 6,000 to 10,000 digital ads every single day just by using online platforms such as Google and Facebook. As web-based media channels emerged for us to use for free, so did new advertising opportunities. 82% of Americans use some form of social media daily, where the viewer is exposed to a new ad every second. There, each tempting advertisement is tailored to your personalized online profile of interest, making it difficult even for Nancy Reagan to say no. Meta Platforms is an American multinational technology conglomerate based in California. Meta owns and operates Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and WhatsApp. Also other products and services. Meta sells advertising placements for marketers to reach individuals based on various factors including age, range, gender, location, interest, behavior, and past purchases. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg owns 14% of Meta. Facebook's business model consists not of just providing a free platform to send your friends pictures of grandchildren and your last vacation. It is an avenue to your mind and your wallet. Without you even suspecting, you're a target. Facebook controls 24.5% of the online advertising industry. Google holds 28% of the market. Other big players are Pinterest and YouTube. There are ways to control this intrusion into your innocent little online experience, but you need to be a little tech savvy. However, as a matter of self-preservation, our human brains do adapt. Less than 100 messages make it past our attention wall each day. However, the most interesting thing about shopping and buying is what's going on in our minds. In fact, Boston sociologist Juliet Shore believes, quote, marketers have less to do with what we want than our neighbors, coworkers, people we follow on social media, end quote. Sometimes we call this envy, not unlike the secret desires of our childhood selves. Moving forward in the 21st century, today the youngest segment of working age Americans are millennials, born 1981 to 1996. Millennials lived through the 9/11 attack, can remember when Amazon sold only books, and are also the first generation to know a childhood with and without the internet. Some tout millennials as possibly the most educated generation in American history. Remember, they have Wikipedia at their fingertips. 38% of them have a bachelor's degree, compared to 15% of baby boomers at the same age. The millennial new home profile focuses on mixed-use communities with neo-traditional designs in neighborhoods with smaller lots and narrower streets. They are integrated in live-work houses near social centers, and they are in close proximity to amenities and services to decrease transportation needs. How do millennials spend their paychecks? They spend less on cars, clothes, housing, and retirement plans than previous generations. They spend more on convenience, online shopping, eating out, travel, streaming services, reducing student debt, and interestingly, make a social impact by donating via buying from socially attached brands. Millennials have lived lives with a social connection at their fingertips every day. In contrast, most of today's seniors live in comfortable retirement and in unison with boxes of objects not of just our own choosing, but stuff collected in a lifetime and handed down heirlooms from people whose names we scarcely recognize and whose lives we barely know. However, deep inside our psyches lies a compulsion to keep and pass on the stuff. A look toward the future. However, there is a serious disconnect with the upcoming generations. America is once again changing quickly. Walt Whitman said, quote, "We were together, I forget the rest," end quote. That seems true as we look among our long-forgotten family possessions. Physical objects jog a memory or two, but they do not often pass on information about people, times, places. Millennials are hesitant to take inherited stuff because they lack attachment, or it has no use today, or no immediate monetary value. Disposal of old objects is difficult, and it's expensive, and it places a yoke of guilt on them. Stuff can accumulate quickly, and millennials live in smaller homes and apartments, not McMansions. Today's young families differ considerably and often live across the country from their parents and hometowns. Fewer couples are marrying. A third of them divorce within 10 years. Half of today's children are born outside marriage, and blended families are on the rise. These young families have stuff of their own, and it rarely includes antiques. No matter how valuable, how beautiful, how family historic our stuff is to us, most millennials, they don't want it. They want their own stuff with their own family memories. Consequently, stuff from your generation is like the Conestoga wagons left behind at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. What stuff will your family want to inherit and keep? American writer Jodi Picoult has a good approach. Quote, "Have an honest conversation with your family about your end-of-life wishes while you're healthy. Ask them if there are particular things they would like to inherit. No one wants to have that discussion, but if you do, you will be giving your loved ones a tremendous gift. They will not have to guess what your wishes would have been, and it takes the onus of responsibility off of them," end quote. As we grow older, having stuff makes us feel safe and secure, and getting rid of stuff initiates worry that there won't be enough when needed. This scarcity mindset keeps us hanging on to things, even if we don't use them or only look at them once every 10 years. The World Wide Web is full of ideas on decluttering your house and attic. There are even experts you can hire to cleanse your home. There are some practical tips for getting rid of stuff and yet keeping the memories close at hand. Let's look at some of those. Make your home a living space, not a storage place. Number one, take photos of the things you love. Digitize them so everyone can have a copy. Display them on an inexpensive video screen player for all to appreciate. This gives you the opportunity to sell your stuff and yet look at it whenever you want. Number two, turn these photos into memory books. There are several do-it-yourself sites online, or you can hire an outside source. These books can include notation, dates, funny stories, names, information, and they become wonderful, replicatable histories for future generations. Number three, create a video of yourself talking about the real things you want to leave your family and friends. Imagine your journey, your regrets, your stories, your recipes, reaching out to future family you may never meet. The accumulation of stuff is a very complex issue, and it's influenced by a myriad of factors that change with every generation, maybe every decade. From financial security to consumer culture to marketing to emotional and societal pressure, its impact is far-reaching, and it affects not just our personal space and mental well-being, but the environment at large. However, just hauling our unwanted things to a charitable organization presents its own problem. In Chile's Atacama Desert, is a textile landfill of more than 66,000 tons of discarded clothes, which is now visible from outer space. Goodwill receives 5.7 pounds of used goods, 5.7 billion pounds of used goods each year. That is more than the weight of 19,000 blue whales. And the blue whale is the largest animal on Earth. Americans alone toss away enough plastic bottles to circle the Earth 4 times every year. Expecting things to change without any effort on your part is like waiting for a cruise ship at the airport. So I leave you with this thought. As we navigate the world with opportunities to acquire, it becomes increasingly important to pause and consider the real cost and purpose of our spending habits, as well as our attachment to personal belongings. Whether it is through mindful consumption, regular decluttering, or a shift in societal norms, it is important as a country and as a citizen of the world to take responsible steps to create a more sustainable and fulfilling life for future generations to come. Why do we have so much stuff? Alas, it's our choice. We are destined to leave this world, and we take nothing with us. Perhaps the secret to fulfilling life is to do more stuff rather than collect it. Just because something made us happy in the past doesn't mean we have to physically keep it forever. The more material objects we lose, the less we have. But in the end, it may well be that the less we have, the more we all win. Thank you.